Hey everybody, this is Dean and welcome to Photo Blue. Today I'm going to show you how to do a panorama in Lightroom. So to start off with, you need to take a series of pictures, panning from left to right to create the panorama. And all you have to do is make sure that you overlap each image so Lightroom knows how to stitch them together. You can actually use a tripod or you can do it handheld. And the example I'm using today, I just did it handheld. So the first thing we do is we're going to select the photographs we want to merge together. So I'm going to select the photographs right here. And we right click on them and we go down to photo merge. There are two choices for panorama. One's panorama, one's panorama HDR, which is high dynamic resolution. So if you want to do a high dynamic resolution panorama, you need to bracket each shot that you take, and then it will give you a high dynamic range panorama, which is kind of a cool feature. But we're going to just do a regular panorama today. Now we'll take a minute for the panorama to process the preview, and we have three choices here. We have spherical, which kind of puts it in a Sphere 360 kind of format. We have cylindrical, which kind of projects it on the inside of a cylinder. And we have perspective. Perspective only works with vertical panorama. So you can actually do a vertical panorama. And that's for like architectural shots where you want to correct the perspective. So typically you'll just choose between spherical or cylindrical. I generally like spherical myself. And so as you can see, the edges are kind of rough on this. And that's kind of just the raw way that it's put the image together. And part of that is because I'm not on a tripod, so it's probably a little more uneven than if I panned on a tripod. But even on a tripod, there would probably be some of these edges as well. So there are a couple of ways to deal with these edges. And one of them is to use the boundary warp. And as we straighten this out, we can kind of square it off sometimes, and that sometimes works pretty well. A lot of times we'll have to just crop. We can also fill edges, and it will try to fill the edges the best they can. But if you look down here, this is all should be gray pavement, and it's actually put part of the sidewalk down here. So the fill edges don't always work well, although like with the sky it works pretty well because it's just a blue sky right here. So you can try both of those, and if we take that off, you can also try auto crop, where we'll just take what's there and crop it down to the side. So we're just going to leave that. Or let's turn the auto crop off and let's actually warp it. And you see it's kind of slanted like that. So we're going to go back to auto crop it. And we could actually combine the two, I think. Yeah, there we go. You can see it starts to actually tilt there. So you can mess with those settings to get the panorama how you want it in the end. There's auto settings, which I generally leave on. The auto settings actually kind of automatically try to make the settings for the panorama and the exposure and stuff. Tries to correct for that. You can turn that off if you want and experiment with that if you want as well. So the next thing we're going to do is just merge the photos. It's going to take it a few minutes to, or a minute or so to merge the photos depending on how many you have together and their resolution. Then it's created this image right here, which is a DNG. And we have the full panorama in there, where it's merged all the shots together. And now this is actually a huge image. If we go and look at it, you'll see it's 18,600 190 by 6629. So that's a huge image. We can, of course, export this and scale it down to a smaller resolution if we want. But it has a lot of detail in there because it's combined multiple images. So it's like having a camera with a huge sensor on it. The other thing to remember is that we can do multiple rows, or we could do vertical. And if we combine vertical with horizontal, we do multiple rows and end up with an even larger image. So instead of just doing this first row, I have this second row which shows some more of the pavement in front of this building. So I can select all of these and I can merge them. And you can see that we have even more of the image. In this case, it's not all that interesting because there's just kind of a parking lot out in front of this building. So there's just some additional pavement. But it's something to keep in mind if you want to do a panorama and get more of the foreground or more of the sky in. You can do multiple rows. So that's how you do a panorama in Lightroom. I'm Dean, and this has been Photo Blue, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.